Hello everyone and welcome to New Learning. I'm Monica MV, Assistant Professor of Mathematics, Government First Grade College, Bangarpet. Today we will start the last and the final unit of third semester BSc Mathematics, paper 3, that is Differential Calculus. So what do we study today? We will study the concept of limits of real valued functions. And at the end of the video, what do you learn? You will learn to evaluate the right and the left hand limits of real valued functions at any point given to you. You will also be able to identify whether the limit exists at any given point and also evaluate that particular limit if it exists. So what should you know to understand this video? You don't need to know much, you simply need to know what is a real valued function. Before we start with the limit of a real valued function, we will briefly go into the history of calculus. Differential calculus is a subtopic or a branch of calculus. So what is calculus? Calculus, originally called as the infinitesimal calculus or the calculus of infinitesimals, means a very small quantity. Calculus mainly is the study of continuous change. Change in the distance, change in the velocity, change in the speed, change in the slope of a function with varying points. So calculus mainly deals with the study of continuous change. There are mainly two branches of calculus. The first branch is called the differential calculus, which we'll be doing now. Differential calculus deals with the instantaneous rate of change and the slopes of curves. It mainly deals with differentiation. Keeping differentiation in mind, we will see what happens to the change in quantities. The second branch is called the integral calculus. You might have already studied integration. So integration is part of integral calculus. It deals with the accumulation of quantities, areas under the curve or between two curves. These two branches of mathematics are combined together or related to each other by a theorem called as the fundamental theorem of calculus. Now, where did this calculus originally start? Calculus date back to the Egyptian era, Egyptian civilization era, with the calculations of volumes and areas found in the Egyptian Moscow papyrus. Further, Greek mathematicians were credited with a significant use of infinitesimals. Infinitesimals means a very small quantity, maybe a number 0.01, 0.0001. So all these are called as infinitesimals. Later in the 11th century in the Middle East, calculus saw its growth with the notion of integration. Further in the 12th century, a Persian mathematician called as Sharaf al-Din al-Tusi discovered the derivative of cubic polynomials. Coming back to India, in the Kerala School of Astronomy and Mathematics, calculus was developed. Madhava of Sangamagrama in the 14th century and the later mathematicians of the Kerala school stated components of calculus such as Taylor series and the infinite series approximations. They developed differentiation as well as integration but could not combine the concepts together into a broad branch called as calculus. Further in the 17th century, infinitesimal calculus was developed independently by two well-known mathematicians, that is Isaac Newton and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. Both were credited with the development of calculus both in their own way simultaneously, but where we were not sure who did it first. With this history in mind, we will come to the main topic of today, that is limit of a function. What is the limit of a function? I am given a real valued function. I will call that function as f of x. Function means it has two quantities, that is the domain and the range. It will take a value in the domain and give a value in the range. In the domain as x tends to a, we say that the function f of x goes to a limit L If for every epsilon greater than 0, however small, there exists a real number delta greater than 0 such that modulus of f of x minus L is less than epsilon whenever modulus of x minus a is greater than 0 and less than delta. This is called as the epsilon delta definition. We'll come back to this definition slowly. The notation for the limit of a function is this: limit x tending to a f of x is equal to L. As x goes to a, the value of the function goes to L. We'll see this geometrically. Geometrically, whenever x is sufficiently close to a from either side of a, the distance between f of x and L can be made arbitrarily small. X is going to a and f of x is going to L. Okay, we will learn this with the help of a simple diagram here. I have taken a function y is equal to f of x. I am interested, now my point I have chosen here as x naught. I am interested in finding the limit of this function y is equal to f of x at the point x is equal to x naught. So what I do now is, I will choose a epsilon neighborhood of L. By a neighborhood, epsilon neighborhood, I simply mean on either side of L. This side I will take epsilon distance, this side I will take epsilon distance. Total length will be epsilon plus epsilon, it is 2 epsilon. Given any epsilon greater than 0, that is how the definition starts with. I am given an epsilon very small, say a 0.01, 0.0001, all these values. Corresponding to this epsilon, I can find a delta neighborhood of x naught, this side and this side, delta distance on either side of x naught, such that any point I take in this interval, this side, this point is x naught minus delta, here this interval end point is x naught plus delta. I take any point in this particular green patch, the value of the function will always lie in this particular yellow patch. That means, given a value of epsilon, given an epsilon neighborhood of L, I can find a delta neighborhood of x naught such that for any point in this delta neighborhood, the value of the function will lie in this epsilon neighborhood. That is the meaning of the epsilon delta definition for limits. In simple terms, the epsilon delta definition means that for any chosen small value of epsilon, we can always find a value of delta such that when x is in the interval x naught minus delta, x naught plus delta. This is exactly what we have written, modulus of x naught minus x will be less than delta. Whenever the distance between x and x naught is less than delta. The value of f of x will lie in the interval L minus epsilon, L plus epsilon, that is in this patch, or the distance between f of x and L will be less than epsilon. This distance is epsilon. The value of f of x will lie in this interval means the distance between f of x and L will be less than epsilon. That is the epsilon delta definition of the limit of a function. Next, I will come back to the previous diagram I have. I said as I go along x naught, x can move towards x naught from either side of x naught. Say I am moving along the x-axis from the left side of x naught or from the right side of x naught. If I move along the left side and take the limit, we can talk about a left hand limit. If I move along the right hand side and take a limit, I can talk about right hand limit. So that is exactly what we have next, left hand limit. I am going towards A, this is the notation I have, I'll come to the notation first. I am going towards A from the left hand side, that means I will put a minus here. The limit of the function is equal to L. That means in the previous problem I am not taking this entire interval, I am taking only the left side of this green interval. I am going towards x naught from the left hand side. So in the definition what we have is half part of the definition of limit. Left hand limit, a function f of x is said to tend to a limit L as x tends to a through the values less than a If for every epsilon, given epsilon, however small, I can find a real number delta greater than 0 such that the distance between f of x and L is less than epsilon whenever, what is the condition here? I am going towards A from the left side whenever x lies in between A minus delta and A. This endpoint, right endpoint is A and the left endpoint will be A minus delta. Similarly, right hand limit, I am going towards A from the right hand side. A function f of x is said to tend to a limit L as x tends to A through the values greater than A if for every epsilon greater than 0, however small, there exists a real number delta greater than 0 such that the distance between f of x and L is less than epsilon whenever, what is the condition now? X is, the left side it can reach is A and right side it is in between A and A plus delta. And the notation we have already seen. Now, I have a small function. We will analyze this function after knowing all this definition. Consider the function f of x is equal to, if x is less than 0, we have defined it to be minus x. X is less than 0, this is the graph of minus x, this blue line. If x is greater than or equal to 0, we have defined the function to be x plus 1. At 0 also it is x plus 1, greater than 0 also it is x plus 1, that is this orange line. We'll analyze the left and the right hand limit. I am interested in finding the limit at 0. So, I can go to 0 from the left or from the right hand side. From the left hand side, if I am coming towards 0, I am moving on this function. I am going to 0, going to 0, going to 0. When I come here, I am approaching 0 on the number line. And from the right hand side, when I come towards 0, the function is reducing, 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 and it will reach this black dot. From the left hand side, when I reach 0, I am moving on the x-axis, the function is changing, coming down, and it is coming to 0. So, the left hand limit is equal to 0. From the right hand side, I am coming towards 0, the function is moving on the orange line, it is coming down. When I reach 0, from the right hand side, the function comes and reaches here, this is 1. So, the right hand limit when x tends to 0 is 1. So clearly few things we can observe from this function. First thing, the left hand limit and right hand limit for a function at a point, they need not be equal. In this case, left hand limit is 0, right side when I come to 0, the function comes to 1. So left hand and right hand limits are different. Further, few times they may not exist at all. The function may not be defined at 0 at all. Therefore, all these conditions are there when I talk about limit. So, then what do we call as the limit of a function? Existence of limits. A function f of x is said to tend to a limit L as x tends to A if, what are the conditions for existence of limit? Not only left or right, in general a limit only. Limit x tending to A minus f of x equal to L exists, that is the left hand limit exists. Limit x tending to A plus f of x is equal to L exists, that is the right hand limit exists. And the left hand limit and the right hand limit, both of them are equal and equal to the value L. If all these three conditions are satisfied, then we say that the limit of a function exists and we write limit x tending to A f of x is equal to L. So the left limit, right limit, both should exist and the values of both of them should be equal, then we say that the limit of a function exists. Next. Once we know what are all these limits, what is the rule to find the left hand and the right hand limit? How do we find the left and the right hand limit? This is what I said we are going to learn. To find the left hand limit, we will be given a function and a point at which I want to find the left hand limit. So I will take the function f of x. In this function f of x, I replace x as equal to a minus h. Then once I am replaced x as equal to a minus h, I take the same function and take the limit as h tending to 0. That is exactly what is here. I replace x as a minus h and that function, when I take limit h tending to 0, that is my left hand limit. Left hand limit, the notation here is a minus, so I am replacing it as a minus h. To find the right hand limit, the same way I take the function. Right hand limit, we are approaching from the right hand side, so put x as equal to a plus h. Then take the limit of the function a plus h as h tending to 0. That gives me the right hand limit. So I can find left hand and right hand limit. To find left hand limit, put x as equal to a minus h. To find the right hand limit, put x as equal to a plus h. We'll go through a model sum now. With all this experience we know now. I am taken a function f of x is equal to x square minus 9 divided by x minus 3. Find the limit of x tending to 3 f of x if it exists. So the function I am given as this one. The limit at the point at which I need to find the limit is 3. We'll start with the solution. I'll take the function f of x is equal to x square minus 9 divided by x minus 3. Now, the easiest way to find the limit, what you have already studied, is to take the point and substitute in the function. I'll see what happens if I take and substitute in the function. This becomes 3 square minus 9, that is 0. This is becoming 3 minus 3, that is also equal to 0. 0 by 0, which is not defined to us. So I need to do something else. So easiest thing what we'll do, x square minus 9, it is in the form a square minus b square. So write it as a minus b into a plus b form, divided by x minus 3. I can cancel out x minus 3 and x minus 3, so that I am left f of x as equal to x plus 3. This is my simplified function. Now we will find the left hand limit. The point I am given is 3, so I will have to substitute x as equal to 3 minus h in f of x. And so after substituting, what is the value of left hand limit? Limit x tending to 3 minus f of x is equal to, I have to take f of 3 minus h and take the limit h tending to 0. F of 3 minus h in f of x is replaced as 3 minus h. What is f of x? X plus 3. X is replaced as 3 minus h. So it becomes 3 minus h plus 3. I have to take the limit as h tending to 0. 3 plus 3 becomes 6. So that it is limit h tending to 0. 6 minus h. Put h as equal to 0. It becomes 6. So the left hand limit is 6. Similarly, the right hand limit, if I want to find, the point I am given is 3. So put x is equal to 3 plus h in f of x. So that the right hand limit, limit x tending to 3 plus of f of x is equal to, what should I do? Limit h tending to 0, x is replaced as 3 plus h in f of x. F of x is already here. Here x is to be replaced as 3 plus h. Limit h tending to 0, f of 3 plus h becomes, when I replace x as 3 plus h plus 3. So this is 6 plus h. Taking the limit, that means I am putting h as 0. This also the value is equal to 6. So what do you observe now? The left hand limit is 6. The right hand limit is also equal to 6. By the conditions of existence of limit, left hand limit, right hand limit, both should exist. Both of them should be equal, so that the limit will exist in this case, and the value of the limit also is equal to 6, because the left hand and the right hand limit, both of them exist and the value is equal to 6. Hope you have understood how to find the limit of a function at a given point. So what we have studied today? We have studied the limit of a function, epsilon delta definition, the conditions for existence of limit, the left hand limit, the right hand limit, and how to find the limit of a function at a given point. Hope you have well understood this point in this video. We have a few drill sums. You can try this exercise problems. The exercise problems are also given in the study material. Please do try them. Thank you.